I believe in total transparency when you are in a relationship. You can't say you are intimate if you are not totally transparent. I want to tell you that your intimidators are intimidated by you. So don't be intimidated by their intimidations. Every parent has a responsibility. You see, every child will be limited by the limitations of the parents. The title of my message this morning is called "It is my time to flourish." The word flourish, if it were to be defined, is to make steady progress. I see somebody here making steady progress into their destiny. The word flourish means to thrive and not just to survive. The word flourish means to be in its or in one's prime, to be at the height of fame. It is excellence, influence, to be successful, to prosper. That's why the Bible says, blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly. And verse 3 says, and he shall be like. Tell somebody next to you, say, I will be like. It shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, which means it's succulent, it is not lacking for resources, that brings forth its fruit in its what? Season. Whose leaf also shall not wither, and whatever he does, what? Now, I need to put this in context. When the Bible says whatever he does shall prosper, it doesn't mean that if I decide now to go and start selling clothes, because it means that I have a Midas touch. Anything I touch will prosper. If I decide it's paper that I'm going to start selling, and then anything I touch will prosper. If I decide it's medical supplies, anything I touch, no. This blessed man, why anything that he touches will prosper, is because he's a man that walks by the leading of the Spirit. Such that the things that he will touch are the things that God led him to touch. So it is not everything he does that will prosper. It is everything God tells him to do that will prosper. That's number one. Number two, he will not seem to prosper every time. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Let me explain it. The first is everything. The second is every time. He says he will bear fruit in his season. I don't know about you. Have you ever complained that things are tough? Have you ever complained like things are dry? Listen to this. There is dry season in the tropics and rainy season. They have only 2 seasons. Is Africa not blessed? Yes. But for many years, they've always had what? Dry season and rainy season. Is England not blessed? But there are different seasons. People who will flourish and prosper will understand or must understand seasons. They will understand they should not move when it is not their season. And they should only move when it is their season. Because they will look good when they move in their season. They will look very bad when they move when it is not their season. If you understand times and seasons, you will understand how to prosper in life. Let me explain what I mean to you. You will understand how not to struggle when it is not your season. The Bible says, in 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32, it says, of the sons of Issachar, who had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do. To know what Israel ought to do. Let me tell you something about life. Success in life is essentially about understanding seasons and knowing what to do in that time. Do you remember the prophecy of Joseph? The dream Pharaoh had. Pharaoh didn't even understand it. 7 years of prosperity and 7 years of what? Let me tell you, that is God for you. 7 years of everything going good, then you determine what you do with it. And 7 years of everything going bad, and if you don't live well in the 7 years of prosperity, you will eat barium sulfate in the 7 years of... Barium sulfate is a kind of dessert. Let's put it this way. You are not in your season yet. When God is, number one, God is not ready for you. Number two, you have no favor. Number three, you do things in your own strength and it achieves little or no results. And then number four, the door is shut on you. If you are at that point in your life where you always have to tell somebody, please, when you get to that place, tell them there's somebody here who needs help, then you are not in your season yet. If you're at that point in your life where you tell people, please, I hear you have a friend that is a guy, or I hear you have a brother, please let him know there's a single lady here, then you are not in your season yet. Is it a bad time? No. What do you do then when your door is shut, when you're in that season? It is to understand that there's a time for preparation, and then also there's a time for manifestation. Let me say something to you. I have come to an understanding over the years, like I said, that there are dry seasons and then there are fruitful seasons. What do you do in your dry season? Abraham Lincoln said, he put it this way. He says, I will study and prepare myself, and one day my time will come. Let me tell you something. Listen to this very quickly. That thing you are praying for, God can do it in one day. Let me help you also understand something. Most of the things we are praying about, it is not a curse. And it is not the devil limiting you. It is God that shut the door. The prayers many of us are praying about a child, it is God that shut the door. If you look at Hannah's story, Rebecca, and God did what? Shut her womb. In terms of your financial breakthrough, it is what? God that is at the door. But let me put it this way to you. I have noticed, since it is God that shut the door, there's a reason why he shut it. And if you can find out that reason, your blessing that you are supposed to come into, you are the time determinant. Does that make sense? What are the characteristics that you have come into your season of favor? Number one, you'll be remembered. Number two, you'll be recommended. Number three, you'll be recognized. And number four, you'll be rewarded. Let me tell you this real life story. I went to preach in a particular church. And I asked, I saw a couple. Lovely couple. They look very good together. So I asked the pastor, I said, how did they get together? He said, it's a serious story. I said, okay, tell me the story. He said, we went for this wedding in another country. And there was this lady. I mean, the guy is a very sharp guy, nice job, well-spoken, the kind of girl that any young girl would like to marry. And then this pastor's wife was taking the guy's photograph around because the guy was such a good guy. And they wanted him to marry. They said, how can we have such a good guy and the guy is not married yet? So she took the photograph at this wedding party kind of thing, like celebration. And then she showed one particular girl, said, what do you think of this guy, on her phone? And then the lady looked at it, she said, it's not my kind. It's not my type. As she did like this, it's not my type. Her friend, who was standing beside, wait. The friend who was standing beside her, this was mistake. It's not my type. As she did like this, it's not my type. She mistakenly just passed the thing to in front of the friend. And the friend just saw her eye caught the thing. She just smiled. One smile just came on her face. The pastor's wife just looked, saw the smile. Was first disappointed at this one. It's not my. I brought somebody to you. Say it's not my. When she was, before she got angry, she just looked up. She just, I even thought this was God's plan. God had something better. Because she said, these are her own words. This one is even finer. Now listen to this. The one that they passed it into is not that just smiled. She didn't hustle. So didn't say bring it, just smiled, and she walked away. This pastor's wife went away and started asking, who is that girl? Went to ask the pastor. They found out she was in protocol too, in the other church. They found out she was the most diligent person. They started working behind the scenes. She was remembered. She was recommended. The husband recognized her, and she was rewarded accordingly. What is the moral of the story? The first girl they gave it to, it was not her season.